Hi, I'm Vicky Carter, and you're watching the Let's Go Kickass Today video special. It's been a while, I'll be honest, a couple of months at least, and so much has changed across the world, in the UK, and hopefully within yourself as well. I couldn't relaunch this podcast without looking back at what has changed. And the Black Lives Matter movement has started a conversation with, let's be honest, has been around for centuries. But more people are talking now, and most importantly, more people are listening. I wanted to have an episode dedicated to remarkable individuals from the fields of music, adventure, and culture, of course, but moments in their lives where they faced racism. You'll be able to hear all 3 interviews from November the 15th, where my podcast relaunches. But in the meantime, enjoy the video special and the awkward internet moments. My second interview is with travel writer and content creator Travis Levius.
Well, I'm actually here in Atlanta right now, thanks to the pandemic. I was in London, and then when Trump announced that Europe ban, I'm like, okay, things are really getting out of hand. So let me just go home. So I've been back in Atlanta since March, but I do plan to return to London next month, in October. Anywho, so I'm from a lot of places. I was born in Brooklyn, moved around a lot as a military brat. Stepfather was in the Navy, and I came to Atlanta for uni. And Atlanta was like my adult hometown for a bit, but when I studied abroad during my time in uni, I went to Ireland, in Galway, and London. When I went to London, it was just love at first sight. I'm like, this is home, this is where I need to be. And long story short, fast forward, still had those London dreams, and I was an assistant teacher in Atlanta at the time. And it's kind of I had a gut feeling that I should just take the leap and just quit my job and just move there and just see what happens. And as crazy as I was, I followed my gut, and so I did. I quit my teaching job and moved to London with very little money, and all of a sudden, like with a few months of time and sleeping on couches and sometimes floors, I stumbled upon a dream job as a travel journalist. And so that's what I do when I am in London.
That's amazing. What a story. I mean, so many different wonderful places there as well, like Atlanta, Brooklyn, and then those experience of pushing yourself and going abroad. And I think that's when you push yourself out of your own comfort zone, that's when you kind of get used to it and you say, okay, I can do this more often. And then that connection with the one place that you feel, okay, I feel at home, and you have a real connection with London. I think that's beautiful. Do you think your dad's position of work had an influence on you? So maybe of the constant moving around, you were used to that, do you feel?
Yeah, I think my stepfather's positions in different places definitely it taught me flexibility. It taught me to adapt to different schools, different people, and sometimes like different cultures. Funny enough, it was when I was 8 years old, and me and my mom and sister moved to Little Rock. It was my first time actually ever having white classmates. And the first time like being introduced to pop music. So this is the time where Britney Spears and Sing came out, whereas I was just used to like Black American music. So it's just been a great like back and forth of just like being exposed to different things and different people, different food and slang and all this other stuff. So I think that helped a lot to give me the travel bug.
Definitely. And I think also widening your experiences as a human being and as an individual and growing is incredible. I loved how you said before, and then I just became a travel journalist. Like that's literally everyone's dream, to be a travel journalist. I know you said, you were very honest about how you slept on the sofas and you really had to graft to get there. But I mean, you write for CNN, Lonely Planet, National Geographic, just to name a few of them. So how did you get there from being a travel journalist for that one publication to then writing for so many?
Right. So I didn't know that travel writing existed. I was just, while struggling in London, I took an unpaid position as an editor for a food and drink website in the States called The Daily Meal. And so I covered London's food and drink scene. And it wasn't until like months later, after building up a portfolio, understanding how working with PRs work, that same website had a travel section. There was actually a PR lunch, and it was like a fateful PR lunch where I kind of reminded, or that I kind of told her my dreams, that here, yeah, I'm here in London, but my real dream is to travel the world. And she says, you know, as we're, you know, talking about London Dynasty, she said, well, why don't you start writing about travel? And like, duh. And so I was able to travel to South Africa with the money that I made with photography and other things in London, and start my travel writing career. And funny enough, I didn't know what my beat was. I was just going to take anything. Actually, my first press trip was around Essex County in the UK. But when I went to Mozambique through a friend's referral, I was just doing something about the capital city, Maputo. And he says, hey, would you like to review this 5-star, you know, all villa remote beach resort in, you know, southern Mozambique, where you can snorkel with dolphins and eat like some of the best prawns of your life? So I'm like, yeah. So they flew me in a helicopter from the Maputo city to this incredible beach resort that, you know, I definitely couldn't afford my own money. And I'm like, I think I found my niche in this luxury travel.
I think that's everyone. So many people I know would love that opportunity to go and live that lavish lifestyle. I mean, with regards to press trips, how do you feel that you can switch off? Because obviously press trips must be a whole different experience to when you go for yourself and actually do a trip on your own. How can you switch off, or do you feel that you're always kind of working and saying, oh, that would make a great picture, or this would make a great article?
No, I'd say I'm a bit of a high-low traveler, and when it comes to hotels that are not dealing with work, I'm definitely low. If I can help it, I'll just save money by, you know, Airbnb or even couch surfing, staying with friends. But no, thankfully, I can separate work from reality, and that, of course, I think that plays into being taught flexibility as a kid, traveling all over, and thankfully I can switch it off.
That's good. Yeah. You mentioned couch surfing. It's incredible. I love couch surfing. It's such a good way to meet locals and have real unique experiences. Talking of unique experiences, I saw on one of your posts that you were in a movie. You ended up being in a movie in Thailand. What?
Yeah. Craziest encounter. And it's like, people know me, like they always say like I'm always into some like crazy, you know, lucky random stuff. But I think that one takes the cake of me going to Thailand, coming off of a super yacht press trip. Of course, can't afford it, but I'm just doing it for work. And spending time on my own, basically, in Thailand, and then coming across this opportunity to be in Thailand and work on a Spike Lee movie, and work under now the late Chadwick Boseman. But mind-blowing, random, or maybe not so random if you don't believe in coincidences, but divine timing experience. So I was there in China for up to 3 months when I was expecting to be there for a month backpacking around. And now my name is on the credits of a Netflix movie that millions of people have seen this year. It's nuts.
That is nuts. Oh my God. And as well, to be like under such an amazing person as well as an amazing actor, Chad, is incredible. Wow. Has there been any particular countries that you've really enjoyed being there and you think, you know what, I feel like a piece of me is here? Because I watched your stunning video of South Africa, and I've never been. I thought, oh, it's gorgeous. You know, I'd love to go there. Yeah. So you got me there. I'm sold.
Yeah. Shout out to Luke Maximo Bell. He was the drone videographer that I hired in Cape Town. And Amit Abraham, he was the drone videographer that I hired in Johannesburg for all that great content. But yeah, South Africa is my #1 flat out favorite country. As soon as the FCO regulations are lifted, I want to hightail myself there, and especially since it's getting warmer now, since it's, you know, coming their summer. So that's my absolute favorite country. Of course, London is my #1 favorite city and always will be. So that's one. I love Chicago as a city, but only in the summer because I can't do the cold. I can see myself having a base in Australia. I really love Brisbane actually, but also want to see Melbourne and spend time in Sydney. There's a few places out there that I really love. Tel Aviv in Israel, I could see myself like spending a summer there too. I really fell in love with that city. Yeah, it's a few places.
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint exactly when people say, you know, where's your favorite place you've been. I have to break it down with cities and then like countries in Europe, countries outside of Europe, because it is so hard. Each country is so different with just their people and their history and their art and their nature and their food. So yeah, it varies so much. So you just mentioned some drone operators. I was going to ask is so, because you have you know, when people just are like, oh, just, I think you just nail on the head Instagram. Like your content is incredible. The pictures, the videos, it's something out of a magazine, every single shot. And I was wondering, no worries. Every time I'm like, yeah, I want to go there. Yeah, I want to go there. So with the drones, especially recently as well, the recent stuff that you've been posting. So you hire people each time. Do you have any of the gear yourself?
Sure. Sometimes I hire them. Actually, the only time I've actually hired them was those South Africa clips that you've done. And moving forward now, I've just been doing collaborations. So I will bring an incredible content creator, and maybe they will have a drone along, and we'll create stuff for ourselves. So with the Armand Giri one, that's the most recent one as of this recording, that I've been posting. So those drone photos were of a fellow content creator friend of mine. Who does really big things, and she bought the drone. I'm like, yeah, let's do some stuff. So yeah, that's how I tend to do it now.
Oh, amazing. That's good. Yeah, you can collaborate with like-minded artists, but also have the flexibility to produce and direct your own stuff as well. That's cool.
Yeah.
Now I can't talk to you without talking about the travel industry and how you highlighted that it is predominantly white. And I know that you've partnered with Black Travel Alliance. What aims is that partnership? What are you all hoping to achieve, even if it is just coming together in the community?
Right. What we want to achieve is that we're seen and heard and valued just like everyone else. Black Travel Alliance is mainly comprised of influencers. And so with that lens, it's about addressing the fact that, okay, when we see a hotel's Instagram feed, you know, with user-generated content, is it only catering towards one demographic? When we compare, when people disclose what influencers are paid on certain travel campaigns, is there equal pay? When we look at the travel brochures, is it really reflecting the world that we're in? If we're doing a press trip, especially in a predominantly Black country, let's say in Caribbean or Africa, are there actually Black people on the press trip? You know, so it's just making sure that the representation and treatment and the value that the industry is you know, forming, that it kind of reflects the people that have been historically left out. And so it's been a beautiful journey of just you know, sharing these things and actually partnering with so many businesses that want to have those changes made, so that, you know, that the landscape finally reflects the world that we live in. And so it's been great.
That's so important to have communities and voice and everyone's voices to be heard. As you've highlighted, there's wider discussions that need to be made throughout the whole travel industry. And I mean, what is that? Is that people sitting down and talking about it? Is it more positions equal around the board for everyone, both you know, in publishing, but also with regards to press trips and PR? What would you say?
Yeah. It's all the above, but I do have to emphasize, well, let's put it this way. I think the industry has been complacent with the fact that maybe there's just been all white mastheads, or, you know, all white influencers showing up at these places. And I think people don't understand that people that are, you know, from disadvantaged backgrounds may not feel as comfortable or as like gung-ho about being in these places because they don't see themselves. So it is a responsibility for, you know, these bigger names and organizations to reach out, you know, to people like me and say like, hey, we you know, want to kind of make it right. We want to kind of equalize what's going on. Let us know how we can help you. And I think that's happening now in a big way, but it just wasn't happening in the past. It's just like, okay, it's all right, and that's how it is. But now it's like, guys, we have to change the narrative. We have to, you know, encourage people that don't look like us to come and join, you know, and to make the changes. And so I think that's been a great result, and I hope that continues in the industry.
No, definitely. I'm sure it will, and it's wonderful to hear such a solid community that Black Travel Alliance has, and hopefully that can, yeah, create more opportunities all across the board for everyone and encourage more people to go out there and travel the world, you know, explore new countries and meet new people. From my limited perspective, when I've traveled in the travel community, they've always been open and friendly, you know, wherever you are, whatever you do, it's kind of out the door. It's like, where are you going? Okay, I've got this tip, you know, do you want to try my food, kind of thing. But with locals, I've faced at times, because I am a woman, a young woman, you know, I faced prejudice and situations where I wouldn't have enjoyed, and it's kind of put me off certain maybe areas of countries or countries itself. Is there any places in the world which you wouldn't feel comfortable about returning?
There's no place that I would write off. There are places where I would need to brace myself for different treatment. So for instance, this year I was on a press trip going to Moscow, Russia. Now, they have a certain reputation for a lot of Black travelers, a lot of being negative as far as people claiming that it's a racist place for people like me. But I do remember not even stepping foot in the city or the country of Russia, and whereas everyone else in my like 9-person press trip group was able to go through customs smoothly, I was held back for at least 45 minutes for no reason. And I turn around and look at the other people that, out of like hundreds of passengers that have went through customs, I look around to see who's been asked to stay and stick around. 3 of the 5 were Black men. So even though I had an amazing time beyond border control, I had an amazing time in Moscow, you know, shout out to Moscow. They know how to party, but I have to brace myself that maybe I won't be so lucky going through, because maybe they just look at me and say that I don't belong and send me back to the destination that I flew in, which sucks.
That's awful. I'm so sorry that you have to experience that.
Yeah.
I feel like in those situations, as a journalist, as a writer, you know, I'd want to voice it out and highlight this, and hopefully, you know, build a community in that. Is that something that you have done or would do?
I have shared this in 1 or 2 articles I've been interviewed. I think one of them was for iNews, actually, where my friend and journalist Stephanie Techie went around and asked you know, people of color their experiences and the highs and lows with that. So I definitely shared that low, and it's been great to just kind of be honest and share those experiences, because people, for whatever reason, don't really understand privileged, like the privilege of not being a Black person in the way that you're treated if you're the majority. It's definitely a different experience for people like me. So
yeah, well, thank you for sharing and writing about it, and yeah, highlighting it to the wider community, your experiences. Yeah, no, that it's important. I think it's really important to do that now, in the past and in the future. So it's yeah, really important to highlight that. with regards to your next upcoming trip, so you've experienced the pandemic at home. What has that been like for you, being an avid traveler yourself and then having to stay in one place?
Yes. Um, First it was tough, and then it was like, okay, I guess I'm just an optimist at heart. So even if initially things are unpleasant or my plans have been scrapped, I'm looking for the silver lining. And the silver lining for me is, okay, I can actually focus now on doing the things and I mean, I have so much content, like people see my Instagram now, but it's like they have years of amazing content that hasn't seen the light of day. And now if I'm not going anywhere, I can finally catch up to those posts. So just seeing it as a silver lining. But the beautiful thing is I'm actually busier than I've ever been as far as writing assignments and
Wow.
getting paid work. So that's been beautiful. You know, of course, people, when they think of travel writing, think that you have to travel all the time. That's not necessarily so. You can do interviews, you can do retrospective travel pieces, and I've just been doing that. And it's been great for my livelihood. So yeah, thanks, pandemic.
That is amazing. I completely understand. I've got videos of like trips that I've done from last year, pictures I still haven't edited that I would just love to sit down and do it. And having that time, I guess, in lockdown and being forced more to stay at home, then you actually have that time. But it's great that there's so many opportunities to write as well, and forcing you to write in a different way, maybe perhaps like you said, in retrospective, if that's not something you've done before, or experiencing new styles, or interviewing over Zoom. Zoom is Zoom is everything. Finally, last question. As you highlighted, you're an optimist, and that's one of the things I love about your content as well. I feel like it is all about affirmations and positive energy, and I saw that with your word as well. I think it was booked up. Was that your word of 2020?
Yes.
Yeah, booked. So as in, well, tell us about all the different meanings and you know, if that does work for you. I mean, did you think, okay, I want to star in a movie, and then is that how it happened?
No, definitely didn't even expect to have that, but I do think that when those crazy coincidental circumstances happen, what I like to do is ask, like, what does this mean? You know, what sign are you trying to convey to me that I need to pay attention to? Because there is really weird stuff that happened on that. I guess I'll share this. I've never shared this publicly. But what was so weird is that on the last day of shooting, the only day that I did it, I brought a book with me to kill the time. I was just standing in, and it's an all-call sort of thing. So I brought Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within. It was a very like motivational classic in the 80s. And so I went to this one chapter. I've never really picked up this book before and started reading the first few pages. Now remember, I'm on set on a Spike Lee film in the middle of Thailand. And I'm reading. It's about the power of asking questions. And it talks about Michael Jordan. I guess he gave examples of questions, and he used the advertising example. And he talks about Michael Jordan's ad with Nike, and then it references that same commercial with Michael Jordan was with Spike Lee.
That's so weird.
What? You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. You know, I have to grab the book so I can show.
Okay. Yeah, no worries at all. That is so mad.
Like, guys, this is a book, right? This is a very thick book, like 500 pages. For whatever reason, I went to, you know, instead of starting just at chapter 1 or the introduction, I went to chapter 8. Like, who just jumps at a random chapter and just starts reading? And then, where was it? Literally like the 4th page. I don't know if you can see it. Spike Lee.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Out of all the times that I could have read the book, all the times I could have read a different chapter, that's what happened. So when that happens, I say, what does this mean? What are you trying to tell me, life?
You were meant to be there. All the signs are pointing to it.
Absolutely. So I'm very much in the belief that you can be aligned with where you want to be. I also believe that you can kind of create your reality. So when it came to book this year, because of course the movie stuff happened in 2019. So for me, focusing on 2020, it was more about being intentional. So my turn book meant me focusing on me writing books. So I really actually want to write, not want to, I will.
Yes, that's the
Write
attitude.
books. Exactly. I will write books on travel and inspiration, bridging that gap of, because people see all the stuff that I do, but it's like, guys, this was because of positive thinking and taking action and having the courage to take the leap for my dreams. So that's one. Being booked for speaking gigs, and that's definitely happening, and especially with podcasts like this one. So thank you. And being booked for paid writing assignments, and my goodness, that has definitely happened within the last few months, like really dream magazine assignments that pay me more than I've ever imagined. So yes, I do think that when you have the intention and have a word or a vision for what you want and you really stick to it, you can attract those opportunities for you to take the leap and take those things and change your life.